Raid have just announced what I would call the biggest update they have done in, I would say, 6 months to the gameplay experience players have in Raid. Now, what I'm talking about, of course, is a new event that will be starting on Friday, coincidentally in line with the new Fusion, I would assume as well. And it is the Progressive Summon event. Now, we've seen similar models of this summoning event in other games. In Dragonair, for example, they have a model where you pick one of 3 legendary champions and you get better opportunities to get them. So let me break down first what this new progressive model is going to be. I'm going to look at exactly specifically what it does, and then I will give you the exact math in terms of how this changes the position from the previous times 10 that we were summoning on, and obviously have a little bit of a discussion about whether or not I think this is, obviously I've already said this is a big update, whether or not I think it's a good enough update to warrant everything they've done, or is there any sort of dodgy things that you need to be aware of. So we have a progressive chance summon event. I saw this was coming from the game code that I saw a few little snippets of, but I waited until they had more information. This event will allow you to boost your chances of summoning particular champions from a selected pool by up to 25 times, simply adding them to the special summon slots. So we've had basically 4 main summoning systems in this game so far in Raid. We have got the standard summoning, we have got the ×2 event where they double the odds of you getting a legendary or rare, or I don't think they've done primal yet because there's not enough mythical champions. There's a ×10 event where they basically increase the odds of specific champions from being summoned once you hit legendary, but doesn't actually adjust the underlying odds of you getting the legendary champion. And then we've got some sort of variations in terms of, like, we've got some guaranteed summon events where they're either a guaranteed champion for a minimum number of shards, or they're a guaranteed champion from completing an event, a hero's path, any of these kind of variations. We also have the new prism system, where essentially it's a shortened pool of champions you summon from, different various odds. They're being quite dynamic with that. That seems to be quite good if you want to target farm specific champions. And of course, we've got like the 1+1 events where you essentially get you get 2 legendaries instead of the 1 legendary when you would get 1+1. So there has been quite a lot of different systems added to the game, but what has never changed, and I've campaigned for this for quite a while actually. If you go look back at the channel, I'll see if I can find the video and pin it. You will see that I did videos on this exact topic months ago, where I was basically saying ×10 was great when you only had 86 legendary champions in the game, but there are over 800 champions in the game now, and we didn't ever adjust the ×10 mathematics, so it became impossible. ×10 value and worth was going down in the toilet. It wasn't worth using ×10. We basically pulled on ×10 because we had to for fusions, not because we necessarily wanted to, with maybe the small exception being ×10 voids, because the pool is a lot shorter. So what we get here is ×25. That's what they're saying. Now, there are conditions here. Let's break it down. Let's be specific exactly what it's doing. So each time you summon a champion that matches the rarity of the champs in the summon slots, you increase the chance of summoning those champion slots champions by 5. Basically going from ×15 all the way up to ×25. That's a lot of words. It's very complicated to explain. So the way that this is going to work is, first off, the first thing you have to understand here is you're going to go from ×10 to ×15 flat. So before you even summon a legendary champion, you're getting 50% better odds than where you were getting with a ×10 event. That's already a massive improvement. Going from ×10 to ×15 is a huge change that is good for every person, because you will have to at some point summon on a ×10 event, or you will want to summon on a ×10 event. If they're just going to make these events be at ×15, that is immediately 50% better. Immediately, without any conditions or any other things. But it gets better, in my opinion. So the first thing that they've done, which I think is actually incredible, and I'm giving Plarium a lot of kudos here, which a lot of people in chat and in the comments will probably be like, stop blowing their trumpet, don't support them. And I'm not into this. I will reward and call out good things when I see it in Raid. And this is very good. They have tied the boost to the rarity, not the champion. It could so easily have been a situation where if you pulled the champion, or if you didn't pull the champion, then it improved the odds, and then you're locked in, right? They could have tied it to specific champions. They've actually made it so that the champion doesn't matter. What matters is if you pull gold, you get better chances of getting more gold. So it rewards volume, which in some respects people will say, well, that's Kraken territory. That's absolutely fine. I have no problem if someone wants to spend thousands of pounds on the game. Remember, us normal players have already got a five times improvement from a base. It's already 50% better. So they've made it so it's not tied to champions. So that's the first good thing they've done here. In other games I've seen, it's very champion specific. So in Dragonair, for example, you can select up to 3 champions. And if you get legendary and it's not one of those 3 champions, then the next legendary you get will increase the odds of that champion. They've done something similar here, but what they've done is actually quite clever. So because it's tied to the rarity and not the champion, if you for some reason decide to put one of the champions in the times 15 and you get that champion, but you actually want more of the times 15 events here, you want to keep pulling because you've got the shards, maybe you want to do it, then you can take that champion out of the champion summoning slots and put the next champion back in, and they will all share the times 20 boost because it's the same rarity on the same shard. So if I wanted to swap them, we'll do an example in a minute. And that's why I think it's really good. So that's 2 good things. Firstly, it's increasing the flat base up by 50%, which is great. Now we're also having options, player choice. I advocate heavily for player choice. Give me the decisions. Let me choose what I want to do. Don't tell me what to do. Don't force me down a narrow path. Let me choose what I want to do. Give me loads of options if you have to, but let me choose, because choice is a big deal. You feel more empowered by it. It's a very good player choice. Is a good idea. So you're actually going to be able here to select the champions you want to boost, as well as the sort of shards that you want to boost it on. So let's keep going on here. Let's read on. Summoning a champion from one shard type won't affect the chances of getting champs from all other shards. Right. So you have to know what shards you want to boost on. If you're pulling ancient shards, then it will only affect ancient shards. That's fair enough. That's not a problem. Otherwise, it could be way too good. As well as increased chances of summoning a champion in one of the summon slots don't affect the chance of summoning a champion of certain rarity. So what they're basically saying is the rarity in the shard has to match. As long as the rarity in the shard matches, the champion doesn't matter. So if I've got an example down here, you can see we've got the times 15, the first event, Stultus and Snick Track. They're both non-void legendaries. And as long as I pull them from the ancient shards, if I pulled Stultus from the ancient shard, then Snick Track, if I keep pulling ancient shards, will have times 20. If I never slotted Snick Track at the start, I took Snick Track out, and I then had Nekmothar for whatever reason. Say like I got Nekmothar, and I want Snick Track to then go back in. He will walk in with times 20 because it's from the same shard, from the same rarity. It gives you the option, if you are pulling lots of shards, to change them around, to basically go, do you know what, I've got this champion now, I got lucky, but I've got another 100 that I need to pull for whatever reason, or maybe I want to pull them. I'm going to just swap my champions around now because I don't need another one of those. I just wanted one of them. So here we go. Simply select which champions from the given pool you would like to boost the summon chances for and place them into the summon slots, and that's it. So not only are we getting 50% more chance to get the champion, we're also getting a scale up to 25%, which is significantly higher. It's not locked to a specific champion, but rather the rarity in the shard. And we even get to pick the champions we want to boost. How many, like, in the comments below now, guys, how many of you have pulled on a times 10 because maybe one champion is there, but you don't really want the others, but you had to for a fusion, and you just felt like you were pulling champions you didn't want? Well, now you actually have the ability here, right? I'd imagine a lot of you are going to comment and say, yeah, you've had to do that at least once in the past. I've had to pull it on things I'm like, well, I don't really need these champions, but I got to pull it anyway. They've actually made it, as long as the range of options are diverse enough, like looking at this list here, I would definitely go for a times 10 Necmo and a times 10 Theodore and probably a times 10 Stultus. I could use another one of those. I've got them, but I could always use another one of those 3 because having 2 Necmothars and Hydra is really good. Having 2 Theodores is double activate is very good. Having 2 Stultus so I can have an arena and a dragon would be very good. Right, I get the choice. If they had just said, oh yeah, the times 10 is Counter Slicks and Stick Track, I'd be like, I don't really want those champions. I already have them. But the fact that I can choose from this list is amazing. It's really, really good. It means that when we actually have to summon for fusions, which is what it looks like we're going to have to do, I'm going to have to summon this weekend whether I want to or not. Otherwise, I can't do the fusion. Obviously, if I didn't want to do the fusion, I wouldn't have to. But as a concept, if the fusion is good and you want to do it, you need to summon. The fact we get to choose the champions we want to chase is such an important factor as well. You can swap champions out of summon slots at any time, but they should be added there in the first place in order for them to receive the progressive boost. I think what that basically means is if they're not there, then they're not going to get boosted when you're summoning. Please keep in mind there's a number of summoning slots. I think I've seen a picture where there's like 4. The chances of summoning epic and legendary champions of Ancient are the same. So they're not going to give you a ×2 with this. They're saying you get a ×15, you still have a 0.5% chance to pull legendary. So look, what I want to say is really good about this. Even if you take out all the conditions and all the complexity, they've given you a 50% increase in the chance of getting legendary champions that you want. That straight out is better than a ×10. There's probably not ever any reason that you would do a ×10 now unless they put it as a fusion and you have no choice, which is kind of strange. I would basically have just replaced the ×10. They clearly say here they're not replacing ×10. I would just replace the ×10 with this because I think you'll get better player feedback and better player engagement. It's not really, it's not going to punish your finances because you're just encouraging people to spend more. Now, this system is heavier on volume. This does encourage you to pull more because essentially what they're saying is keep pulling. You've got a better chance of getting legendary. They're trying to basically encourage you. But I'll give Plarium their credit here. They've actually come up with a system that benefits them financially because people will want to spend more shards based on the fact you're getting better odds. But us players who don't necessarily want to spend our entire livelihoods doing it, maybe that might spend a little bit here or there, maybe you don't spend at all, you're getting something here that's going to help you. It's going to be an improvement. You'll see when you see the math, the improvement here. It's actually very good. So last night, I actually recorded the math segment for this, ready for editing today. And I actually kind of made a mistake because I forgot to exclude the champions that you cannot summon. There are a series of champions, Doom Tower champions predominantly, some of the login champions that you get, some of the one-time rewards like Mithrala, Romantu. So there's actually quite a few champions you can't even summon. So I've updated the math today and we're going to go through it. We're also going to include now the new champions that they've added as of today with the fusion. There's a couple of mythicals, so we're going to talk about that. So what is the total number of summonable champions in Raid Shadow Legends? Well, it stands at the moment at 798 summonable. There's actually around about 830, give or take, but these are the ones you can actually summon. So we've got 19 commons, 72 uncommons, 161 rares. These are all non-void. 214 non-void epics, 164 legendaries, non-void legendaries. That's the number we're more interested in, and 9 mythical champions as of today because we've had 2 new ones come in. Now, from a void perspective, there are no common or uncommon voids. There are only 53 rares, 49 epics, and 57 legendaries. Those are the total numbers that we're going to be basing all the math on. Now, I do have data from back in January 2021, a patch that was released then. So I know back from then, there was 85 non-void legendary champions, 29 void legendary champions, and then from an epic pool, there was 137 non-void epics and 33 void epics. So we can use that as a comparison. And it's important for the context of why I have been campaigning for quite a long time, I would say, probably like 6 to 12 months now, for a better summoning odds for ×10, because we'll see the difference in the number of summonable heroes from back then till now. Obviously, mythical champions only came out in 7.5, so we're only looking at the difference between patch 7.5 and 7.7, which has been so far, we've gone from 5 on launch to 9 right now. So you can see right now why we don't really have any sort of ×10 odds on like mythical champions, because it would massively inflate the opportunity for you to get the one that you want. There's not enough of them to really warrant it. So essentially, you don't really get any boosted odds for mythical champions at the moment. A ×10 on mythical champions would result in a 55.6% chance you get that champion. It's way too high for what Plarium would accept. So I've put this up here for context. We'll track it as we go. There are no void mythicals so far, but we would expect them to come at some point, I would imagine. Now, let's have a look at legendary champions. This is the one that most people will be focusing on because it is around the new ×15 system. So what we can do is we can look at it and go, okay, so back in 2021, there was a 1.2% chance of getting any specific champion, right? So that basically means there's no ×10. If I pull a legendary champion, I have a 1.2% chance of getting the champion that I want, one of the champions I want. In today's era, that's a 0.6% chance. So you basically have half a percentage chance, give or take, to get the legendary champion that you are chasing, the Kaimar or the Rotus. Now, if we look at the ×10, currently, that would push us up to a 5.8%. Now, the context here that I need to explain, this is if there was only one singular ×10 champion added to the summoning odds, not 3 or 4, just one. We'll have a look at 3 or 4 in a little moment. But if there was one times 10 champion, that would basically, on today's current patch, after the champions that have gone in today, currently increase this to 5.8% chance at the moment. 2021, that would have been 10.6% chance. So you can see why I've been sitting here for quite a long time. I think the last time I did the video was like months ago, but I did do a video breaking this down where I've been saying, you know, times 10 back when it first came out was pretty good. But now there's so many champions in the game, you don't really feel the impact of the times 10. You know, the champion development has developed. We've added more champions, but we've not actually improved the odds of the times 10. So that was something that that they needed to fix. So that was basically my main concern. So with this new system, we're going to start at times 15. So let's have a look at how that compares. Well, it puts us at 8.4%. So we're still not quite back at the 2021 levels, but it is a significant improvement over 5.8%. We're basically adding about 2.4% better chance. We're doubling our chances. We are getting 50% more on there. Now, if you go to a times 20, that goes to 10.9%. So now we're exceeding those original numbers back in 2021. And if we do get to times 25, you have a 13.3% chance that you will walk away with the epic champion, with the legendary champion you want, non-void. So you can see that actually, if we compare it like for like on 2021, that the new system is 25% better. They've almost like built a system that is better than what it was. But even if we just take the lower one, yes, it's not as good as 2021, but it is still an improvement on what we have, and it brings us closer back to making it so that times 10 actually matters. Now, let's take a look at Void. Void is a little bit different because the pool of champions is significantly lower. We have gone from 29 Void legendaries to 57. This has seen the largest increase of champions in all of the different pots of champions. When we think of epics, non-void epics, void epics, non-void legendaries, this has increased by 97% since January 2021. So let's have a look at the odds here. If you were just trying to get one void legendary and you pull legendary, you've got a 1.75% chance you get one legendary that you want. That's gone down from 3.45%. Back in the day, a times 10 void legendary would have been 26.32%. That is now 15%. So you only have a 15% chance. This is why a lot of endgame players get very upset when they add average void legendaries, because what you're doing is you're watering down the pool of void legendaries, making it harder to get the champions you really, really want. So that is kind of like a bit of a tale of why those players get really upset when a void legendary comes out like Clydner and we're like, it's not that good, it's not really void legendary quality. It's because getting Warlord is twice as hard because it reduces the odds of you being able to get it on a times 10. Now, on a times 15, we're basically going to move to a 21.13. So it kind of restores us back to where we were about 12 to 16, about 6 to 12 months ago, where it was about a 1 in 2 chance. But that will scale to a 30% chance. So if you pull loads and loads of void shards, then if you keep getting legendaries, you're moving up to like a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to get the void legendary you want. This is why the system encourages mass shard pulling, but at the same time, it's still pretty good because, again, we're basically getting 6% better odds on our times 10 compared to times 10. So it's really good. Now, if we look at epic voids, well, this is going to be slightly different. Getting voids is much easier, so it's much more realistic that we're going to get to a times 25. So currently, we would be looking on a normal times 10 for an epic, a 4.5%. If you pull a couple of epics, you'll be moving up to a 10.5%, which is 53% better than back in 2021. So trying to get epics now will be much easier. So if they put a times 10 if they do this times 15 event with an epic that you want, there's a very good chance that you will get the epic that you want because of the odds in the way that it works. It still requires a little bit of volume, but if you have to pull anyway for the events, it's better, essentially. Now, if we look at non-void, someone like Seer, someone like White Dryaneer, I think the first summoning event tomorrow is White Dryaneer, so that's a big deal. Then you move up to a 34.25% chance of getting it on a times 25. It's a 23.81% chance. The times 15 void is essentially equal to what a times 10 void epic would have been back in 2021. So they brought it up to parity. So it's really good. This is what I'm trying to say. There's no negatives to be had here. If you don't pull lots of shards, well, it's going to just give you far better opportunities to get the epic or legendaries that you really want. If you are going to pull a lot of shards, especially epics, I would say, then it's a very high probability that you will get the champion that you want based on the way that this system scales. Now, let me show you what happens if we were to put it in the current model where there is 3 times 10 champions or 3 times 15 champions, because it does affect the numbers. So generally the way these times 10 event works is you've got one champion already in the pot. They literally just add more opportunities to pull that champion. It's almost like adding more cards to the deck. If you have 3 times 10 champions, well, you're adding 3 times 10 to the deck. So even though you still want the one champion, there's actually a larger pool of champions because the other times 10 champions are adding +9 and +9. They're doubling up essentially. So what we end up having a situation is with the first one, it's like 10 divided by the total pool +9. This one actually becomes 10 divided by the total pool +9 +9 +9 because there's 3 champions added into the times 10 pool. So it will reduce the probabilities because essentially there's more likelihood that you're going to get the other times 10 champions you don't want. So if we were in this situation here, let's say we put 3 times 10 champions in, well, on a non-void, it would put us to, on a normal times 10, to a 5.2%. And that is basically down 41% from 2021. Now, if we compare that to what it would be over here, you can see it's actually 5.8%. So it's affected it by 0.6%, which in itself is not major. But when we start scaling it, if we go all the way up to a times 25, if you get super lucky and you pull lots of legendaries, you'd be looking at a 10.6% chance, which is compared to a 13.3% chance. So adding more champions to the pool is going to reduce the chance of you getting the one that you want. Same thing with a void legendary. You can see it goes to a 19.4 where it should be a 30.86. So multiple void legendaries in this pool is going to significantly hurt your odds. So what I would suggest you do with this strategy is when you're picking your summon pool, try to make sure that you have one rarity in one shard as much as you can, because as long as it's a singular times 10, like a singular boosted champion in that shard and rarity, you're going to get much better opportunities to get that champion that you want. If you add, say, 2 void legendaries into your summoning boosts, then you're basically halving the opportunities that you're going to get one of them. You might overall increase the odds that you get one of those 2, but if you want one specifically, you're reducing the odds, right? Because essentially what you're doing is you're loading the deck with more cards of both champions, not just the one. So there you go, guys. That is the progressive summoning system math. I know people are probably seeking those numbers. I think this is the best thing they've done to the summoning odds in probably a year, right? We've had some attempts at it in terms of like they seem to have moved away from guaranteed as in pull 15 sacreds and have moved towards more an event-based model. The summoning, this Prism system can be good, but it also could be paywalled. It's also very dynamic. We never know what type of probabilities and what champions and how many Prism shards are going to be required to summon. They're changing a lot. It's not something we could depend on. But this would probably still be the best way to like target farm a Harima, right? If an endgame player really wants Harima, this is probably the best way to get it because you've only got a 1 in 8 pool of legendaries. You just need to roll legendary and then you've got a really good opportunity, right? 1 in 8 is basically 12.5% chance that one of these will be Harima. So it's basically as good as it's going to get because you don't need as much volume here. But this targeted pool, if we can get up to times 25, is pretty good for a sort of heavy shard puller. And even if you're not a heavy shard puller, then you're still going to get times 5 better odds than what you had before. Like there's a fusion event that starts tomorrow, I think, and this event is going to start Friday, so it's probably going to be a fusion event, right? You're going to have to pull champions. It's going to be in that champion chase or the summon rush, whichever it is. So you're going to have to take part anyway if you want the fusion. And now they're just giving you, hey, here's 50% better odds than what you would have had before, and you also get the choice of the champions you want to go for. So that is just great. It's player choice, better odds. So I don't really think we can hate on Plarium too hard for this system. I'm sure there will be people out there who say, they're trying to encourage whaling and cracking in. Of course they are. They're a business. They want you to spend money on shards. But they've given a lot to players here for free that you don't actually have to invest anything in, right? You're going to get that times 15 to start with. And if you don't like the system, you do not have to engage with it either. So well done, Plarium. I think this is probably one of the most positive things I've done and said about Plarium in a very long time, which is nice. It's nice to actually have a little bit of positivity. I'm still waiting for the major content piece. Hopefully there's a what's next video, right? I do want to see some new actual gameplay content in the game, this bigger than Doom Tower content. I'm sure they're cooking something up in the kitchen and we'll get something soon, I hope. I was hoping it would be in the November patch, but maybe it's going to be for the Christmas patch in December. We might even get like a late November patch, you never know. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully we get some news about that soon. But until then, guys, let me know in the comments below, what is your opinions on this progressive summoning chance? I will make this Google sheet that I've been going through today available in the description, so you can go and look at the numbers yourself and double check the math if you want to. Maybe I've done a bit of an oopsie somewhere. I normally don't mess these ones up because I have to triple check things over and over. So let me know in the comments below what you think of the system, and I'll catch you in the next video.